She gave shelter to a bleeding stranger for one night, not knowing she was protecting the most feared Korean mafia boss alive. The rain was biblical. Sheets of water cascaded down Crenshaw Boulevard, turning the streets of South Los Angeles into rivers. Nadia Pierce locked the door of Mel's diner at exactly 11:47 p.m., 3 minutes late because old Mr. Henderson had needed exact change and she didn't have the heart to rush him. Her umbrella was broken, had been for 2 weeks, but payday wasn't until Friday, so she pulled her hood up and prepared to run the 4 blocks to her apartment. That's when she saw him. A man collapsed against the dumpster in the alley beside the diner, rain mixing with what looked like blood pooling beneath him. Nadia's first instinct was to keep walking. This was L.A. This was Crenshaw at midnight. People who got involved in other people's business ended up on the news. But then she saw his hand twitch, fingers reaching toward nothing. And her grandmother's voice echoed in her head. "We don't walk past people in need, baby. That's not how I raised you." "Damn it, Grandma," Nadia muttered, approaching cautiously. The man was Korean, maybe late 20s, with sharp features even in distress. His black suit was expensive, she could tell from the fabric, and completely ruined by rain and blood. A lot of blood. It soaked through his shirt from somewhere around his ribs. But what caught her attention was the tattoo creeping up his neck. An intricate black dragon whose tail disappeared beneath his collar. "Sir? Can you hear me?" She knelt beside him, careful to stay out of arm's reach in case this was some kind of setup. His eyes cracked open, dark, unfocused, burning with fever. "I'm going to call 911, okay? Just stay still." "No." His voice was rough, heavily accented. "No hospital, no police." His hands shot out with surprising speed, gripping her wrist, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop her from reaching for her phone. "Please, they'll find me." "Who'll find you?" "Sir, you're bleeding out. You need a doctor." "Can't." His eyes were losing focus again. "Please, just somewhere safe. Few hours. I'll leave." Every rational part of Nadia's brain screamed to call the police anyway, get away from this clearly dangerous situation. But something in his eyes, desperation mixed with pride, the look of a man who'd rather die than ask for help but was doing it anyway, made her hesitate. "I live 4 blocks from here," she heard herself say. "Can you walk?" "Yes." But when she helped him stand, he immediately collapsed against her, his weight nearly taking them both down. He was solid muscle under that expensive suit, taller than she'd realized. Nadia was 5'7" and athletic from years of waitressing, but supporting him was like trying to carry a marble statue. They made it 2 blocks before he passed out completely. Nadia ended up half dragging, half carrying him, praying no one saw them and assuming the worst. By the time she got him up the stairs to her 3rd-floor walk-up, she was soaked, exhausted, and questioning every life choice that had led to this moment. Inside her tiny studio apartment, Nadia laid him on her bed, the only bed, and finally got a good look at the damage. Gunshot wound, right side, through and through from what she could tell. The bleeding had slowed but not stopped. She'd taken a semester of nursing school before money ran out, knew just enough to be dangerous. "Okay," she said to the unconscious stranger, bleeding on her purple comforter. "Okay, we're doing this." She grabbed her first aid kit, woefully inadequate, and the sewing kit her grandmother had left her. Boiled water. Found the bottle of vodka she'd been saving for a special occasion. "This definitely counts as special," she muttered, taking a long drink before pouring the rest over her hands. Working on an unconscious man by lamplight, Nadia cleaned the wound as best she could. No bullet inside, thank God. Just a channel through muscle and tissue that needed to be closed. Her hands shook as she threaded the needle. This was insane. She should call 911. Should get this man professional help. Instead, she started stitching, trying to remember everything from her brief medical training. He woke up when she was halfway through the back wound, his hands suddenly gripping the bed frame so hard the metal creaked. A sound escaped him, not quite a scream, more like a growl of pure agony, but he didn't pull away. "I'm sorry," Nadia said, not stopping. If she stopped now, she'd never start again. "I'm almost done. Just breathe through it. Your name." His voice was strained but clear. "What's your name?" "Nadia. Nadia Pierce. And you're going to tell me yours before I finish sewing you back together." Silence. Then, "Ryu. Call me Ryu. Ryu. That your real name? Ryu? Does it matter? I guess not. Since you'll be gone in a few hours anyway, right? She tied off the last stitch, covered the wound with gauze and medical tape. There. You're going to have a nasty scar, but you'll live. Probably. Ryu's eyes found hers, and Nadia felt the full force of his attention. Even half dead and bleeding, there was something commanding about him, something that said he was used to people obeying without question. Why did you help me? My grandmother always said we don't walk past people in need. Nadia stood, putting distance between them. Also, I'm apparently an idiot who makes terrible life choices. You can stay until morning, but then you're gone. I don't know what you're mixed up in, and I don't want to know. Smart. He tried to sit up and immediately went pale. Nadia moved before thinking, helping him ease back down. Don't move, you'll tear the stitches. I'll sleep on the couch. She gestured to the worn love seat that barely fit her 5'7" frame. There's water on the nightstand. Bathrooms through there. And Ryu, I've got pepper spray, a taser, and a baseball bat. So whatever you're thinking about doing, don't. His lips twitched in what might have been a smile. Understood. Thank you, Nadia Pierce. I'm in your debt. You're not in my debt. You're just a stranger. I helped who'll be gone in the morning. She grabbed a blanket and pillow. Get some rest, and try not to bleed on my sheets more than necessary. That comforter was expensive. Nadia didn't sleep. How could she, knowing a strange man, a dangerous man, based on the bullet hole and the dragon tattoo and the expensive suit was in her bed? She lay on the couch, taser in hand, listening to his breathing. Around 3 a.m., she heard him moving, heard the bathroom door close, water running, heard him stifle a groan of pain. Part of her wanted to check on him. The smarter part stayed put. When dawn broke gray and reluctant through her window, Nadia finally dozed off. She woke 2 hours later to the smell of coffee and the sound of someone moving in her kitchen. She bolted upright, taser raised, to find Ryu standing at her stove, cooking. What the hell are you doing? She demanded. He was shirtless. She'd cut his ruined shirt off last night, displaying a body covered in muscle and scars. The dragon tattoo was even more intricate than she'd thought, wrapping around his neck and disappearing down his back. Fresh bandages covered the wound she'd stitched. Making breakfast. He glanced over his shoulder, and Nadia realized he looked better. Still pale, still obviously in pain, but alert. You had eggs and kimchi in your refrigerator. I'm making bakimbap. Fried rice. I can see that. I meant, what are you doing still here? You said a few hours. I reconsidered. It's not safe for me to leave yet. He plated the food with surprising grace for someone who'd been half dead 8 hours ago. My enemies will be watching the streets, looking for signs of me. I need another day. Maybe 2. Absolutely not. Nadia stood, ignoring the fact that she was in pajama shorts and a tank top, while he was shirtless and far too attractive for someone who should be in a hospital. You can't just decide to stay here. This is my home. I know, and I'm grateful for it. He set a plate in front of her. The fried rice smelled incredible, which is why I'll compensate you. What's your rent? That's none of your $1,200? $1,500? He pulled out a wallet from his ruined jacket, somehow still intact, and counted out bills. $100 bills, 30 of them. $3,000. For 2 days of sanctuary. That's fair, yes? Nadia stared at the money. That was more than she made in 2 months at the diner. More than enough to fix her car, replace her broken phone, pay ahead on utilities. But taking it meant becoming complicit in whatever this man was running from. I don't want your money. You need it. His eyes swept her apartment, the cracked phone screen on the counter, the eviction notice she'd hidden under a magazine, the broken TV she hadn't been able to replace. Don't be foolish. Take it. Pretend I'm not here for 2 days, then forget you ever saw me. And if whoever shot you comes looking, they won't. They think I'm dead. They won't look for a corpse. Something dark crossed his expression. And if they do, I'll make sure you're not involved. Nadia wanted to refuse. Wanted to throw him out and pretend this never happened. Instead, she picked up the fork and tried the fried rice. It was the best thing she'd tasted in months. 2 days, she said finally. And you stay out of sight. I work the evening shift today. When I come home, you're still here. You're cooking again. That almost smile returned. Deal. Nadia went to work that afternoon in a daze. Every time the diner door opened, she jumped, expecting men with guns looking for the stranger in her apartment. But the day passed normally. Regulars ordered their usual meals. Tourists asked for recommendations. Old Mr. Henderson needed exact change again. Her coworker, Rashida, noticed. "Girl, what's wrong with you? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Didn't sleep well." Nadia lied, refilling coffee. Neighbors were loud. Rashida wasn't convinced. "This about that fine Korean man I saw you watching last week? The one who comes in every Wednesday and sits in your section?" Nadia's blood froze. "What?" "Don't play. The one with the expensive suits and the neck tattoo. Always orders black coffee and sits by the window." "You think I don't notice you fixing your hair before taking his order?" Rashida grinned. "He hasn't been in this week, though. You finally get up the nerve to ask him out, and he ghosted you?" The world tilted. The man in her apartment, Ryu, was a regular. He'd been coming to the diner for weeks. How had she not recognized him last night in the rain and blood? "Because you never really looked at him," a voice in her head whispered. He was just another customer in expensive suits who didn't talk much. Another person passing through your life without making an impression. "Nadia? You okay?" Rashida waved a hand in front of her face. "Yeah, fine. I gotta check on table 7. She spent the rest of her shift in turmoil. Ryu, whoever he really was, had been watching her. Coming to her diner specifically. Sitting in her section. Was the shooting random? Or had he known exactly whose alley to collapse in? When her shift ended at 11 p.m., Nadia walked home slowly. Keys between her fingers like brass knuckles. Let herself into her apartment ready for anything. And found Ryu exactly where she'd left him. Reading one of her books, a battered copy of Toni Morrison's Beloved, with reading glasses perched on his nose that made him look almost harmless. "You're a regular at Mel's diner," she said without preamble. "You've been coming in for weeks." "Wednesday afternoons." He looked up. Expression unreadable. "Yes. So last night wasn't random. You knew whose alley you were in." "Yes. And you knew I'd find you. I hoped you would." He set the book down carefully, removed the glasses. "The alternative was dying in the rain. You seemed like someone who wouldn't let that happen. You don't know anything about me. I know you give free coffee to the homeless man who sits outside. I know you split your tips with the new waitress who's struggling. I know you paid for Mr. Henderson's meal last week when his card was declined, and you told him it was on the house so he wouldn't feel ashamed." His eyes held hers. "I know you're kind in a world that punishes kindness. So yes, I gambled that you'd help me, and I was right." Nadia felt exposed, seen in a way that made her uncomfortable. "You had me investigated. In 7 Deedon, Axis 5, I observed." "There's a difference. Not to me." "Who are you? Really? And don't say Ryu." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "My name is Lee Junyoung. I run operations for the Jade Dragon Society in Los Angeles, what Americans call the Korean Mafia. And 6 days ago, I survived an assassination attempt that killed my 3 bodyguards and was meant to kill me." The truth hung between them. Nadia should have been terrified. Instead, she felt a strange calm. At least now she knew. "Why you? Why did someone want you dead?" "Because I was trying to change things. Move the organization away from violence, toward legitimate business." Some of the old guard disagreed. Violently. Bitterness crept into his voice. "I thought I had support. Turns out I had enemies pretending to be friends. And now? Now I'm a ghost. Dead as far as they know. Which gives me time to plan my next move." He stood carefully, moving to the window. "But Nadia, I need you to understand. You're in danger now. Not immediately, but eventually. Someone might remember seeing us together. Might connect dots, which is why I'm giving you an option." "What option?" "Let me disappear from your life completely. I'll leave tonight. Give you enough money to disappear too if you want. New city, fresh start. Or," he turned to face her, "help me. Let me stay until I can move safely. Feed me information about what you hear at the diner. It's in neutral territory. Lots of people talk there. In exchange, I'll make sure you're protected. Always." "Why would I help you? I don't owe you anything." No. But I owe you everything. His expression was intense, sincere. You saved my life when you had every reason to walk away. You stitched me back together with supplies from your kitchen. You gave me your bed and slept on a couch with a taser in your hand. You showed me kindness I didn't deserve. Let me return it. Let's 30 port meter. By dragging me into your criminal world? By giving you a choice. Something no one's given me in years. Nadia looked at this man, this dangerous, beautiful, damaged man standing in her living room like he belonged there. And she thought about her life. The dead-end job, the eviction notice, the car that needed repairs she couldn't afford, the dreams she'd given up when her grandmother died and left her with nothing but debt and memories. If I help you, she said slowly, I want something more than money. Name it. I want the truth about everything. No more lies, no more half answers. If I'm risking my life, I deserve to know why. Jun Young studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Agreed. Truth for trust. Then you can stay. But Jun Young, the minute you lie to me, the minute I think you're putting me in danger you didn't warn me about, I'm out. And I'll make sure every cop in LA knows where to find you. His smile was genuine this time, reaching his eyes. That's fair. You'd make a good negotiator. I've been negotiating my survival since my grandmother died. This is just a different battlefield. The next 3 days fell into a strange rhythm. Nadia would work her shifts at the diner, listening to conversations with new attention. The Jade Dragon Society operated in Koreatown, but their influence spread throughout LA. People talked about shipments, about territory disputes, about the power vacuum left by that Lee kid's death. At night, she'd come home to Jun Young cooking elaborate Korean meals that made her tiny apartment smell like heaven. He'd ask what she'd heard, filing information away with the precision of someone used to strategic thinking. And slowly, carefully, he'd tell her pieces of his story. My father built the Jade Dragon from nothing, he said one night over Galbatong. Came to America with violence in his past and violence in his future. But he was smart. Invested in legitimate businesses, created networks that served our community. By the time I was old enough to understand what he did, he was already trying to go clean. What happened to him? Cancer. 5 years ago, he made me promise to finish what he started. Turn the Jade Dragon into something he could be proud of. Jun Young's jaw tightened. I've been trying. But the old guard, they like the old ways. Protection rackets, smuggling, violence. They see my reforms as weakness. So they tried to kill you. My own uncle ordered it. My father's brother. The pain in his voice was raw. He smiled at my father's funeral and promised to support me, then put a bullet through my ribs 6 days ago. Nadia reached across the table without thinking, covering his hand with hers. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me something valuable. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who'll destroy you. His fingers turned, lacing with hers. And sometimes a stranger shows you more humanity than family ever did. The contact sent electricity through Nadia's arm. She should pull away, maintain distance. This was business, survival, nothing more. But his hand was warm, and the loneliness in his eyes matched her own. Tell me about your grandmother, Jun Young said softly, and Nadia found herself talking. About Grandma Rose, who'd raised her after her parents died in a car crash when she was 8. About learning to cook in their tiny kitchen in Inglewood. About plans for nursing school that died with student loans she couldn't pay. About the diner job that was supposed to be temporary but had become her life. You gave up your dreams to survive, Jun Young said. It wasn't a question. Didn't have a choice. Dreams don't pay rent. What if you did have a choice now? What do you mean? I mean, when this is over, when I reclaim what's mine, I could help you. School, business, whatever you want. Consider it payment for saving my life. I don't want to be your charity case. You wouldn't be. You'd be an investment. He squeezed her hand. I've built an empire on knowing people's potential. And Nadia, you're full of untapped potential. Wasting away in a diner when you could be so much more. You don't know what I could be. I know you stitched up a gunshot wound with a sewing kit and vodka. I know you're sharp enough to gather intelligence without anyone noticing. I know you're brave enough to shelter a stranger everyone thinks is dead. His eyes held hers. And a police. I know I've never met anyone quite like you. The air between them felt charged, dangerous. Nadia pulled her hand away, standing abruptly. I should clean up. Nadia, don't. Whatever you're about to say, don't. She grabbed plates, needing to move. You're here because you had nowhere else to go. I'm helping because I don't know why. But it's not this. It can't be this. Why not? Because you're a criminal. Because you'll be gone soon. Because I'm not stupid enough to fall for someone who lives in a world where people get shot in alleys. She turned to face him, defensive. Because I've already lost everyone I've ever cared about, and I'm not doing it again. Jun Young stood slowly, moving into her space with predatory grace. What if I promise not to disappear? You can't promise that. Your life is violence and danger, and he kissed her. Cupped her face and kissed her with a gentleness that contradicted everything she knew about him. Nadia froze for one heartbeat. Two. Then her hands came up to grip his shoulders, and she was kissing him back with 6 days of tension and fear, and something terrifyingly close to hope. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Jun Young pressed his forehead to hers. I can't promise safety. I can't promise easy, but I can promise that if you let me, I'll spend every day proving I'm worth the risk. This is insane. Completely. His thumb brushed across her cheek. But you've already done insane things for me. What's one more? Nadia should have said no. Should have pushed him away. Instead, she pulled him closer, let herself fall into the dangerous warmth of him, and whispered against his lips. One more. But if you break my heart, I'm keeping that $3,000. His laugh was quiet and genuine. Fair terms. They didn't sleep together that night. Jun Young was still healing, and Nadia needed time to process the fact that she just kissed a mafia boss in her kitchen. But they talked until dawn, sharing space on her small couch, his arm around her shoulders, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. What happens next? She asked as the sun started to rise. With your uncle, the organization, all of it, I gather allies. People I know are loyal, who want the same changes I do. Then I reveal I'm alive and take back what's mine. That sounds like it'll involve a lot of violence. Probably. He didn't sugarcoat it. I'll try to minimize it, but my uncle won't step down peacefully. There will be a reckoning. And me? Where do I fit in this? Wherever you want. You can walk away right now with enough money to disappear. Or, he tilted her chin up to meet his eyes. You can stay. Help me build something better. Be part of the change. As what? Your informant? Your girlfriend? Your liability? As my partner. The word hung between them, weighted with meaning. I've spent my whole life surrounded by people who want something from me. Power, money, status. You're the first person who wanted nothing but to keep me alive. That's rare, precious. I don't want to lose it. Play ham, you barely know me. I know enough, and I want to know everything else. Before Nadia could respond, her phone buzzed. Rashida. Girl, you need to come in early. Some Korean men here asking questions about Wednesday regular. Look dangerous. Jun Young saw her expression change. What is it? Everyone. Men at the diner, asking about you. His face went cold, calculating. What did Rashida tell them? Nadia typed quickly. What did you say? Rashida. Nothing. Said I don't notice customers, but they're not leaving. Scaring people. They're looking for proof I'm dead. Jun Young said, already moving toward where he'd stashed his ruined jacket. From it, he pulled a gun Nadia hadn't known was there. They'll question staff, check security footage, look for any sign of me. There's no security footage. Mel's too cheap for cameras. Good. But they'll keep asking questions. Might even come here if someone mentions you helped me that night. No one saw us. I made sure. But Nadia's heart was racing. This was real. This was dangerous. Men with guns looking for the man currently standing in her living room. I need to move. Get somewhere they won't think to look. Jun Young was all business now. The tender man from moments ago replaced by the crime boss. There's a safe house in Pasadena. I'll go there. Lie low until, no. Nadia grabbed his arm. If you run, they'll know you're alive. Your whole plan, gathering allies, taking back control, it only works if they think you're dead. I won't put you in more danger. I'm already in danger. But I have an advantage you don't. I'm nobody. Just a waitress. They're not looking for me. She thought fast. I'll go to the diner. Act normal. Find out what they're asking, what they know. You stay here, out of sight. I'll come back with intel. Absolutely not. If they suspect you know something, they won't. I'm good at being invisible. The truth of that stung. Years of being overlooked, underestimated, treated like background noise. For once it could be useful. Trust me. Junyoung looked at her like he was memorizing her face. Then he pulled her close, kissed her hard and desperate. If anything happens, anything you run, don't try to protect me. Just run. Nothing's going to happen. I'm just going to work. But they both knew it was a lie. The diner was tense when Nadia arrived. 2 Korean men in expensive suits sat at the counter, and 3 more stood by the door. Rashida looked terrified behind the register. Customers ate quickly and left. The men radiated danger, not obvious like guns drawn, but present like a storm about to break. Hey, Rashida, Nadia said casually, tying on her apron. One of the men at the counter turned. He was older, maybe 50s, with silver in his hair and a scar across his cheek. You work here? Yeah. Can I get you gentlemen anything besides coffee? Information. His English was perfect, accent minimal. Man comes here Wednesday afternoons. Korean, late 20s, neck tattoo. You serve him? Nadia let recognition cross her face, not too much, just enough. Oh yeah, the quiet one who always sits by the window. Black coffee, no sugar, tips well. Haven't seen him this week though. Something wrong? The man's eyes narrowed. When did you last see him? Last Wednesday. Came in around 2, left around 3, same as always. She glanced between the men. Did he do something? Is he in trouble? He's dead. The words were blunt, testing. Shot 6 days ago. Nadia let her eyes widen in shock. Oh my God. That's terrible. He seemed like a nice guy. Quiet, but nice. You ever talk to him? Besides taking his order? Not really. Like I said, he was quiet. Mostly just read or worked on his laptop. Why are you asking? Are you police? Private investigators. The lie was smooth. His family wants to know his last movements. You're sure you haven't seen him since last Wednesday? Positive. I work Monday through Friday, evening shift. If he came in after last Wednesday, it wasn't when I was here. Nadia kept her voice steady, concerned but not suspicious. Should I talk to my manager? Maybe check with the morning staff? The man studied her for a long moment. Nadia met his gaze, let him see a working woman trying to be helpful. Nothing more. That won't be necessary. He stood, placing cash on the counter. Thank you for your time. They left as suddenly as they'd arrived. Nadia waited until their cars pulled away before releasing the breath she'd been holding. Girl, what the hell was that? Rashida hissed. Those men were terrifying. I don't know, but I'm calling in sick the rest of the week. Good idea. This place gives me the creeps now. Nadia took a circuitous route home, doubling back 3 times to make sure no one followed. By the time she reached her apartment, her hands were shaking with adrenaline crash. She let herself in to find Junyoung pacing, gun in hand, expression murderous. You're okay. He crossed to her in 2 strides, pulled her against him. Thank God. I heard the men ask questions, saw their faces on my phone. If they'd hurt you, they didn't. I played dumb waitress. They bought it. She pushed back to look at him. But Junyoung, that man, the older one with the scar. Who was he? His expression darkened. My uncle, Park Sung-ho. He was the one asking questions. Looking for you himself. He's thorough. Checking every lead personally. Junyoung's jaw clenched. Did he suspect anything? I don't think so. I said I hadn't seen you since last Wednesday. Played up the concerned citizen angle. He seemed satisfied. For now. But he'll keep looking. Sung-ho doesn't leave loose ends. He cupped her face. Which means we need to move faster than I planned. I can't stay here much longer without putting you at risk. How much longer? 2 days. 3 at most. I've been making calls, reaching out to allies. There's a meeting set for Sunday night. The loyalists who want change versus the old guard. His eyes were intense. It's going to be dangerous, bloody, and I need to be there. Sunday is 3 days away. I know. Which means 3 more days of hiding. 3 more days of putting you in danger. Nadia, maybe you should leave. Go stay with a friend. I'm not leaving. She cut him off. You said partner. You meant it, right? Not just pretty words. I meant it. Then partners don't abandon each other. We see this through together. Junyoung looked at her like she was something miraculous and terrifying. You're going to get me killed. You were already dying when I found you. I'm keeping you alive. She managed a shaky smile. Big difference. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, like he was trying to pour everything he couldn't say into the contact. And Nadia kissed him back, pushing away fear and logic and the voice that said this was insane. The next 3 days were stolen time. Junyoung made his calls, planned his strategy, prepared for war. Nadia went to work, couldn't afford to miss more shifts and kept her ears open. No more visits from dangerous men. But the diner felt different, like everyone was waiting for something to break. At night they existed in a bubble, cooking together in her tiny kitchen, watching old movies on her laptop, talking about futures that seemed impossible but felt real when he looked at her. When this is over, Junyoung said Friday night, his head in her lap as she played with his hair, I'm taking you to Seoul. Show you where my father came from. The real Korea, not the tourist version. I've never left California. Then we'll change that. Seoul first, then anywhere you want. Paris, Tokyo, Lagos, Johannesburg, everywhere. You're talking like we have forever. We do. He caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. After Sunday, everything changes. I take back control, clean house, build what my father wanted, and I want you there for all of it. As what, your girlfriend? Your... What, exactly? As whatever you want to be. Girlfriend works, partner is better. Eventually. He turned to look up at her. Eventually, more. If you'll have me. You're talking about marriage? We've known each other a week. I've made billion-dollar deals on less time and worse intel. His smile was soft. Besides, I knew what you were to me the moment you stitched me up with thread from your grandmother's sewing kit. Everything since has just been confirmation. You're insane. About you? Completely. He sat up, turning to face her. But Nadia, I need you to understand what you'd be signing up for. Life with me is complicated, dangerous. There will always be people who want to hurt me. And by extension, you. I can protect you, but I can't promise easy. I stopped believing in easy when my parents died. Then again, when my grandmother followed them. Easy isn't real. She touched his face, thumb brushing across his cheek. But this, this feels real. It is. Most real thing in my life. They made love that night, slow and tender, bodies learning each other's geography. And afterward, wrapped in her sheets with the city lights streaming through the window, Nadia let herself believe in impossible things. Sunday arrived too fast. Junyoung was tense all morning, checking weapons Nadia hadn't known he'd stashed in her apartment. 3 guns, 2 knives, and something that looked disturbingly like a grenade. Where did all this come from? I had supplies dropped off while you were at work. Sorry. I should have asked. He didn't look sorry. He looked lethal. The man who'd cooked her breakfast and watched romantic movies was gone, replaced by the crime boss preparing for war. When do you leave? 6 p.m. Meetings at 8, in a warehouse in Vernon. Neutral territory. And if it goes wrong, it won't. But his hands were too careful as he loaded clips, and Nadia knew he was lying. Junyoung, look at me. She waited until he did. If something happens to you, what am I supposed to do? There's a bag under your bed. Cash, new identity documents, contact information for a lawyer. If I don't come back, you take it and run. New city, new name, new life. Don't look back. The thought of running, of leaving him to whatever fate awaited, made Nadia feel sick. I can't just leave you. 60 free. You can. You will. His voice was firm. Promise me, Nadia, if this goes wrong, you survive. That's non-negotiable. And if it goes right, then I come back here. To you. And we start planning that trip to Seoul. They spent the afternoon in careful silence, both pretending everything was fine. But when 5:30 p.m. came, and Jun Young started getting ready to leave, Nadia couldn't hold back anymore. Take me with you. Absolutely not. I could help. Be a lookout. Or, no. He turned to her, expression hard. This isn't a negotiation. You stay here, doors locked, curtains drawn. If you don't hear from me by midnight, you run. That's the deal. That's a terrible deal. It's the only one I'm offering. He pulled her close, kissed her with desperate intensity. I love you. I know it's too soon to say that, and I know it's unfair to say it right before walking into danger, but I need you to know, in case, don't say goodbye like you're not coming back. I'm not saying goodbye. I'm saying I love you. There's a difference. Another kiss, softer this time. And when I come back, I want to hear you say it too. He left before she could respond, slipping out into the darkening evening. Nadia stood at the window, watching his retreating form until he disappeared around the corner. Then she looked at the clock. 6:47 p.m., 5 hours and 13 minutes until midnight. Nadia tried to distract herself. Cleaned the apartment, made dinner she couldn't eat, watched TV she didn't process. Every minute felt like an hour, every hour like a lifetime. By 10 p.m., she was pacing, phone in hand, checking for messages that didn't come. 10:30, nothing. 20:90, nothing. 11, still nothing. At 11:43, headlights flooded her window, multiple cars moving fast. Nadia's heart stopped. She ran to the window, peeked through the curtain, and saw black sedans pulling up outside her building. Men getting out. Too many men. All armed. This wasn't Jun Young coming home. This was his uncle's men, come to clean up loose ends. Nadia grabbed the bag from under her bed just like Jun Young had said, and the gun he'd left in the nightstand. She'd never fired a gun in her life, but she knew the basics. Safety off. Point. Pull trigger. Don't think. Footsteps thundered up the stairs. Someone pounded on her door. Open up. We know you're in there. The fire escape. Nadia ran to the window, threw it open, climbed out onto rusted metal. 3 floors up, no time for careful. She scrambled down, hands burning on cold metal, feet slipping. Behind her, the crash of her door being kicked in. Shouts, flashlights sweeping. Nadia hit the ground running, bag over her shoulder, gun in her hand. The alley was dark, full of dumpsters and shadows. She made it 2 blocks before a car screeched around the corner, headlights catching her like a deer. She raised the gun, finger on the trigger, ready to go down fighting. The back door flew open. Get in! Jun Young's voice, urgent and alive. Nadia didn't think. Just ran, threw herself into the car. Jun Young floored it before she even got the door closed, tires screaming as they rocketed through the streets. What happened? Nadia gasped, looking back. 3 cars were following. The meeting was a trap. My uncle knew I was alive, was waiting. Jun Young's face was hard, focused. Blood streaked his temple. But I had people on the outside. They got me out. And now we run. I've got a safe house in San Diego, across the border if we need it. But Nadia, he glanced at her, expression fierce. This is real now. No more hiding. My uncle knows about you. Knows you helped me. You're a target. Then I guess partners in crime is more literal than I thought. Despite everything, he laughed. You're insane. You love me anyway. I do. He reached across, grabbed her hand. More than I've loved anything, which is why we're going to survive this. Together. Behind them, gunfire erupted. Bullets spiderwebbed the rear window. Jun Young swerved, taking a hard left. Then another. The chase became a blur of lights and screeching tires, and Nadia's heart hammering against her ribs. Hold on. Jun Young took a corner too fast. The car fishtailed, recovered. 2 of the pursuers weren't as lucky. One crashed into a parked car, the other spun out. 1 car left. It rammed them from behind, sending them lurching forward. Jun Young cursed in Korean, fighting for control. The gun, he said. Glove compartment. Bigger than yours. Nadia found it black, heavy, definitely illegal. What am I supposed to do with this? Roll down your window. Aim for their tires. Don't think. Just shoot. I know. But you stitched me up with a sewing kit. You can do this. His eyes met hers briefly. I trust you. Nadia rolled down the window, cold air whipping her face. Twisted in her seat, aimed at the pursuing car. Her hands shook. The gun felt wrong, heavy, deadly. Breathe, Junyoung said calmly, like they weren't racing through LA at 80 miles an hour. Breathe and squeeze. Don't jerk, Nadia breathed. Squeezed. The recoil nearly took her arm off. The bullet went wide, shattering a streetlight. She adjusted, aimed lower, fired again. This time, the pursuer's tire exploded. The car swerved, smashed into a guardrail, stopped moving. Yes, Nadia yelled, adrenaline replacing fear. Holy shit, I did it. You're a natural. Junyoung was grinning, looking more alive than she'd ever seen him. Remind me never to piss you off. They drove in silence for another hour, putting distance between them and LA. Finally, somewhere south of Orange County, Junyoung pulled into the parking lot of a cheap motel. We'll stop here for the night, rest, regroup, then decide our next move. Inside the dingy room that smelled like cigarettes and desperation, Nadia finally let herself process everything. She just shot at people. Actually shot at them. Her hands started shaking again, delayed shock setting in. Junyoung pulled her close, let her shake against him. It's okay. You're okay. We're okay. I could have killed someone. You saved us. There's a difference. He tilted her chin up. You were incredible. Brave and brilliant. And she kissed him, desperate and needy, wanting to feel alive after coming so close to death. Junyoung responded instantly, backing her toward the bed, hands roaming, breath coming fast. They made love with the urgency of people who'd almost lost everything. And afterward, wrapped in cheap motel sheets with sirens wailing somewhere in the distance, Nadia finally said the words he'd asked for. I love you. I know it's crazy and fast and we're literally running for our lives, but I love you. Junyoung's smile was devastating. Say it again. I love you. Again. I love you. You demanding, dangerous, impossible man. Perfect. He kissed her softly. Now sleep. Tomorrow, we start fighting back. But tomorrow came with complications. Junyoung's phone buzzed at 6 a.m. unknown number. He answered cautiously. His face went white as he listened. Understood. I'll be there. What? Nadia asked, dread pooling in her stomach. My uncle. He's holding a lieutenant of mine. Says if I don't meet him alone, he'll kill him. Junyoung's jaw was tight. It's another trap, but if I don't go, an innocent man dies. So we go together. No, you stay here where it's safe. That's what you said last time, and look how that turned out. Nadia stood, started getting dressed. We're partners. That means we don't make each other's decisions. Nadia, this is different. My uncle is ruthless. If he sees you, then I'll shoot him like I shot those tires. Or have you forgotten I'm a natural? She met his eyes unflinching. You said you trusted me. Prove it. Junyoung stared at her for a long moment. Then he pulled out a second gun, started showing her how to properly hold it, aim it, kill with it if necessary. If things go wrong, he said quietly, you shoot first. Ask questions never. Promise me. I promise. The meeting was set for noon at an abandoned warehouse in San Pedro. Junyoung and Nadia arrived early, scoped the location. Too many sightlines. Too many places for snipers. This was definitely a trap. Last chance to back out, Junyoung said. Not happening. They walked in together. The warehouse was empty except for three figures in the center. Junyoung's uncle, Park Sung-ho, a young man tied to a chair, bleeding and unconscious, and a woman Nadia didn't recognize, Asian, elegant, holding a gun, nephew. Sung-ho's smile was cold. Good of you to come. And you brought your pet. How? Touching. Let him go, Junyoung said, ignoring the insult. This is between us. Is it? Sung-ho's eyes flickered to Nadia. I was going to kill you, Junyoung. Quick, clean. But then I learned about her. The waitress who saved you. The woman you're willing to risk everything for. His smile widened. That changes things. She's not part of this. She became part of this the moment she sheltered a criminal, the moment she chose you over safety. Sung-ho raised his gun, pointed it at Nadia. So here's the deal. You kneel, Accept death with dignity, and I let her live. Or you fight, and I kill you both. Don't, Nadia said immediately. Don't you dare. Junyoung's hand found hers, squeezed. Then he let go, took a step forward. I kneel. No! Nadia grabbed for him, but he was already moving, dropping to his knees before his uncle. Smart choice. Sung-ho moved closer, gun trained on Junyoung's head. Your father would be so disappointed. Building an empire, just to have his son give it away to street trash. That's when Nadia moved. Drew the gun Junyoung had given her, aimed at Sung-ho's center mass, pulled the trigger. The shot echoed like thunder. Sung-ho staggered, hand flying to his shoulder where blood bloomed. His own gun discharged wild, missing Junyoung by inches. Chaos erupted. The elegant woman fired at Nadia. Junyoung threw himself in front of the bullet, taking it in the shoulder. The tied lieutenant somehow got free, attacking Sung-ho with zip-tied hands. Men poured in from the shadows, but these wore Junyoung's colors, not Sung-ho's. The fight was brutal and quick. Junyoung's people overwhelmed Sung-ho's guards. The elegant woman tried to run, but was tackled. And Sung-ho, bleeding and furious, found himself surrounded. Junyoung stood, clutching his wounded shoulder, and looked down at his uncle. You were wrong about one thing. My father wouldn't be disappointed. He'd be proud that I found someone worth living for, instead of just someone to die for. You're weak, Sung-ho spat. No, I'm loved, there's a difference. Junyoung turned to his men. Take him. The others too. It's time for new leadership. The hospital was too bright, too clean after everything. Nadia sat beside Junyoung's bed while doctors stitched up his shoulder. Professional stitches this time, not thread from a sewing kit. You shot my uncle, Junyoung said, voice full of wonder. Didn't hesitate. Just pulled the trigger. He was going to kill you. That made it easy. Nadia's hands were still shaking, but her voice was steady. Besides, you said partners. Partners protect each other. You're extraordinary. He caught her hand with his good arm. Also insane, but mostly extraordinary. What happens now? With the Jade Dragon, your uncle? All of it. Now I rebuild, clean house, finish what my father started. He pulled her closer. And I do it with you beside me. If you still want that, I shot a man for you. Pretty sure I'm committed at this point. Committed. I like the sound of that. His eyes were serious now. Nadia, I meant what I said. Marriage, forever, all of it. You saved my life twice now. 3 times if you count shooting my uncle. I'm not letting you go. Good. Because I wasn't planning on leaving. She leaned in, kissed him gently. But Junyoung, next time you get shot, you're stitching yourself up. I'm done playing nurse. Deal. Though I'm hoping there won't be a next time, there wasn't. The transition of power was bloody, but brief. Sung-ho and his loyalists were removed, some permanently, others exiled. Junyoung restructured the Jade Dragon, moving operations almost entirely legitimate, used his resources to invest in the community, create opportunities, build something his father would have been proud of. 6 months later, Nadia stood in the same warehouse where she'd shot Sung-ho. But it looked nothing like it had that day. Now it was a community center job training, education programs, resources for immigrants and anyone else who needed help. Her idea. Junyoung's funding. Their future. What do you think? Junyoung asked, coming up behind her to wrap his arms around her waist. I think it's perfect. I think it's what we were supposed to build all along. We're officially opening next week. Press, politicians, the works. He kissed her neck. And I was thinking, maybe we make another announcement at the same time. Nadia turned in his arms. What kind of announcement? He dropped to one knee, same position he'd been in when his uncle held a gun to his head. But this time, everything was different. This time, he pulled out a ring. Diamonds and emeralds. Korean and American design blended perfectly. Nadia Pierce. You sheltered a wounded stranger, stitched me up with thread and vodka, shot my uncle to save my life. Built a future with me when you had every reason to run. His eyes held hers. Marry me. Not because it's practical or strategic or good for business. Marry me because I love you more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. Because you make me want to be better. Because life without you is just survival. and I want to actually live. You're getting blood on my floor, Nadia said, looking at his knee. Is that a yes? You're ridiculous and I love you and yes, I'll marry you. She pulled him up, kissed him hard. But if you ever kneel in front of someone pointing a gun at you again, I'm shooting them first and asking questions, never. That's my girl. They were married 3 months later in a ceremony that blended Korean and African American traditions, held in the community center they'd built together. Grandma Rose's best friend, the only family Nadia had left, walked her down the aisle. Jun Young's remaining loyal people stood as witnesses to something impossible. A criminal and a waitress building a love story from gunshot wounds and desperate choices. Years later, when people asked how they met, Jun Young and Nadia would smile and say, in a storm. They never specified what kind, the literal rain that had been falling that night, or the metaphorical one that had nearly destroyed them both. Nadia never went back to Mel's diner. But she did keep her grandmother's sewing kit, the needle and thread that had stitched together more than just a wound. It sat in a place of honor in their home, reminder that sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places. Sometimes it comes in the form of a stranger bleeding in an alley. Sometimes it's found in thread and vodka, and hands brave enough to try. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the person you save ends up saving you right back. Jun Young built an empire from the ashes of violence. Nadia built a community from the ruins of lost dreams. Together, they built a life that honored both their truths. That love can bloom in the darkest places, and that sometimes the most dangerous choice is the one that leads to everything you never knew you needed. The dragon on his neck still marked him as dangerous. The scars on her hands still showed she'd fought to survive. But when they looked at each other, all they saw was home. And that was worth every risk, every bullet, every impossible choice that had led them to each other.